Yes, the Wii U is the secret to Nintendo's current success. At the time it was regarded as one of the biggest flops the company has ever had. But I give you 2 reasons why the console was actually a success, and I show you why the Wii U represents the difference between the thriving Nintendo and the struggling gaming sector of Microsoft. Being a game journalist for over 15 years, I saw the rise and fall of the Wii U, and I'm going to explain to you why I build a trust towards Nintendo that they always fall on their feet, and what you can learn from their approach. So what is the Wii U? It was Nintendo's successor to the Wii, the first ever Nintendo console to hit over 100 million sold units. After a decade in which Sony's PlayStation 1 and 2 dominated the market, Nintendo finally had the upper hand again. But a lot of core gamers didn't take the Wii too serious. It focused much more on the motion controls and the creativity of the games, and less on the hardware power itself. But that was what made it so appealing for gamers of all ages, and still one of my favorite consoles today. So it was a very tough job for the Wii U to follow this incredible hit, especially because Nintendo wanted everything at the same time. They wanted to keep their newly won audience of casual gamers happy while also winning over the core gamers once again. In 2011, 5 years after the release of the Wii, Nintendo announced the Wii U. To say that fans and experts were underwhelmed isn't enough. People were quite puzzled about this new tablet controller with a touchscreen. Is that the future? How expensive will this be? Will any third-party developer actually work with this chunky thing? According to officials from Nintendo, a lot of people didn't even get that this was a new console. They thought it was just a new controller for the Wii. With all of this, the inevitable happened. The console was a huge commercial flop. In the beginning there were a couple of third-party games, especially Ubisoft really tried to cater to the Wii U, but the console just wasn't strong enough to keep up with the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4. And the gamepad was too weird of a feature to just be easily implemented. 13 million Wii U's were sold, after Nintendo apparently expected to sell over 100 million. But nonetheless, the Wii U wasn't the Virtual Boy. That was the obscure first try of Nintendo to develop a virtual reality headset. It was only released in Japan and the US in 1995, so around the time the PlayStation hit the shelves and a year before the Nintendo 64 was released. In the end, they sold less than 1 million units of the console, and the list of problems was endless. But the most important one, it was just pure pain to play with it. The headset was put on a stand in front of you on the table, and you needed to hold your head in front of it. So kinda like those machines you have at the eye doctor. And the screen was just black and red. Your eyes would hurt, your neck would hurt. All in all, just an awful console. And a dead end. It was neither affordable nor pleasant to play with a VR headset yet. But the Wii U wasn't a dead end. In the long run, the console was a huge success for Nintendo as a stepping stone for the Nintendo Switch. And I see 2 reasons for it. First reason. The Wii U didn't flop because of bad games. Quite the opposite, actually. Nintendo continued to develop amazing games throughout the whole life cycle of the Wii U. And because no one played them at the time, Nintendo could just re-release them for the Switch and make their output seem much more impressive. In the top 10 of the most successful Switch games, we have New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe, The Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild, and with a crazy 61 million sold copies, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. All games that were originally released for the Wii U. Yes, Breath of the Wild wasn't technically a re-release, but it was definitely planned as a Wii U exclusive in the beginning. But the list doesn't stop there. Super Mario 3D World, Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, Pokémon Tekken, and more and more and more and more. The Switch had a lot of amazing exclusives, but especially in the first few years, the console would have had a really hard time without those Wii U games. Second reason, Nintendo was able to learn from the mistakes they made with the Wii U. While the Virtual Boy was a dead end, Nintendo didn't abandon the way of the Wii U completely. One of the big advertised features of the console was that you would be able to continue playing your games only on the tablet controller. When your family watches something on TV, you don't need to stop playing your game. But for the Wii U, that came with quite a few issues. If you want to actually develop games that need the touch screen and that use the double screen feature, then you cannot really play it just on one screen. And because it was just a controller, it needed to be relatively close to the console, so you couldn't walk too far away from it. And exactly those 2 problems were tackled with the Switch. The console was now inside the tablet, so you could walk anywhere with it. And the gimmicky double screen idea was just dropped. The Wii U was probably as close as you could get to a hybrid console at the time, if you didn't want to sell your firstborn child. It wasn't a perfect console, absolutely not, but the innovation and the guts Nintendo showed with trying this way eventually led them to the Nintendo Switch. And that is why I think Nintendo's business approach is much more future-proof than, for example, Microsoft's. At least in the gaming department, there is a lot more to the company. In the last decades, every Nintendo console brought an innovation. Movement controllers with the Wii, the double screen of the DS, 3D without glasses with the 3DS, a second screen for a home console with the Wii U, and now this hybrid console model with the Switch. Nintendo always gets a lot of shade for not keeping up with the hardware power like the other companies do it, like Sony and Microsoft do it. But these innovations made their consoles memorable and keep their business thriving. Even if some of them fail, there are learnings and stepping stones for the future, especially when we are looking at a future where we are getting closer and closer to photorealism and the hardware power itself will be less and less impressive. Let's look, for example, at the last years of Microsoft. They never really failed. The Xbox 360 was on par with the PlayStation 3 and then it slowly went down. The Xbox One and Xbox Series X, S were both okay. They were okay in sales, not more than that. The hardware was always impressive, as strong as it could get. But that was pretty much the concept to sell consoles. There were some exclusives, but very little, and they tried innovation with Kinect, but they never really found the right market for it and then dropped it quickly after the release of the Xbox One. Now they're forced to release some of their exclusives for the consoles of the competitors, and I don't really know how they want to turn it around with their gaming sector. So while the Xbox is stuck in mediocrity, Nintendo's failures made them stronger and stronger. And that also gives me the belief that they have the creative power to come back from every setback. Bottom line, you need to fail for actual success. Only because Nintendo left the normal path, the run for stronger and stronger hardware, they were able to develop hit concepts like the Wii or now the Switch.